All right, welcome back, 8th grade. 8th grade, man, that time must have flown by. You guys probably feel like you were just in 6th grade. That's crazy. So my name is Mr. Petter. Hopefully by now you've watched the welcome video and now you're kind of working your way towards the video on expectations, procedures. This video specifically is going to be in regard to the syllabus. So it's going to talk pretty much about how the class runs and operates, and just to kind of get you a little bit more familiar with it. So, like I said, I'm Mr. Petter. I'm going to be teaching 8th grade visual arts. Also, I'll be teaching advanced 8th grade visual arts. Both classes are going to be set up exactly the same structure. So like just the logistics of the class. However, the content could change slightly. The advanced class, that was an application process back in the spring. As long as you went to Jackson last year, you did have an opportunity for that. Hopefully you took advantage. If not, no big deal. You can always get caught up in high school or as a 9th grader. So here we go. Now, right now what I did was I just basically opened up my Polaris page. And if I go to my courses, okay, I'm not going to do that right now, but if you go to your courses, actually I can. If you go to your courses, you have all your different courses in here. So I have a couple different sections. I have this advanced art section and then your section. I am actually going to just stick with where I was at. And it's going to take you to your art course, and it should look something like this. Oh, there's Kendall and Brad and Layla. Hopefully you guys watched the video to kind of get to know me a little bit, or just kind of quickly read through this. Really, it's no big deal. This is where you're going to find everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the syllabus first. So if you notice in our course, you have week of August 24th to the 29th. That is the first full 5-day week of school. Now, August 20th and 21st, those are probably going to be days where we kind of go over the syllabus. If you are in person, maybe I'll get to know you a little bit. If you're remote, trust me, I will still get to know you. It's just going to take a little bit of time since we're not face to face. That's fine. So that's kind of where everything we do that week, obviously, that's where you're going to be able to find that information. Enrichment, that means that you are going to have options. If you complete the expected and the mandatory work, then you will have opportunities for enrichment, which is basically just enriching your skills in art, or providing more content and more skills and more. So enrichment, that's going to be a really cool source if you find this class interesting and you want to continue to pursue it. Parent resources, obviously that's for your parents. Hi parents, hopefully you guys are hanging in there. And class resources, that is where the students are going to find their resources. These 2 pages or these 2 folders are actually very similar. There might be maybe a couple more things in the student resources, but hopefully you guys are sitting down and going through this together as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on class resources. And I arranged this so that you can kind of work your way through this. A couple of these things, principles of design slideshow, wouldn't worry about that just yet, but we will cover it. Elements and principles, some of these things we're going to get to later. There are rules and expectations, safety procedures. I believe this one was actually from, I'll have to take a look after this video, but I'm pretty sure this one was a little bit older, back when things were a little bit more normal. So course syllabus, e-learning 2.0. Now, I'm going to start by just kind of explaining 2.0. 2.0 is basically telling you that this is the second go around. So back in the spring, things were set up a little differently. Okay, if I'm being totally honest, back in the spring, things were set up so that students can learn how everything operates, but also not get overwhelmed, not get stressed out. And obviously we still do not want that. But 2.0 is basically raising the level of expectations a little bit. So 2.0 means that we're back at school. Unfortunately, we can't quite do things to the limited Like basically we can't do things like we did in the spring because we just need to provide more learning, more education, things like that. Back to almost how it was before. So the start of last year. Okay, so this is 8th grade art. My name is Mr. Petter. The goal for this class is to be creative, be fearless, and be open. So welcome to 8th grade art. We do have some objectives. We have some rules we're going to go over, some of the consequences. We'll talk a little bit about grading policy. And that is pretty much it for the syllabus. And then we'll get into the rules and expectations later. Or a few more rules and expectations. A lot of rules. So many rules. So, all right. The first goal, let's go down here to objectives because this is important. This is like our number one priority here, aside from safety. So during this 12-week art course, we will demonstrate increased technical skills and craftsmanship, which is basically the neatness of your work, to design and create artwork using the elements and principles of art and design. So we'll talk about how those work. Last year, you probably learned a little bit about the elements. This year, you're going to learn more about the principles, and those are all basically rules and components to all artwork. Really, almost no matter what type of artwork you're looking at, you're going to use the elements and principles. Then the number 2 goal, and these are very general, that's why we only have 3, because they cover so much ground. The number 2 goal is to explain and defend yourself. Okay, so if you do artwork and you create artwork, you should be able to explain yourself. You should be able to defend your decisions using visual art vocabulary. Okay, and we'll obviously learn all this as we go. And then the third objective is basically to have all students, I think this was actually supposed to be a rule, but is to have all students log into Polaris daily for updated assignments. So that's like one of the main expectations is that everybody logs in daily, whether you're at home or whether you're in school. Okay. Rules. All right. Rule number 1. Now, some of these changed a little bit. You must show up to class on time. Now, this is where, remember, I mentioned up here, e-learning 2.0. You have to show up to class every day on time. So that could look a little differently. Now, if you have an assignment due Friday, you might have a little bit more freedom of when you complete the assignment. But as far as my understanding, e-learning 2.0, we're going to do things together for the most part, at least during a designated time during this first 12 weeks. So you must come to class on time, online or in person. Rule number 2, come to class prepared with all of your supplies. So the supplies, this is where things get a little tricky because during this, I'm going to call it a pandemic, but don't quote me, but I'm going to call it a pandemic for the sense that, obviously we are going through a time in the world where we are going through a contagious virus that is going throughout the world. I think everybody knows that. I don't think it's a secret. And so with that, we have to take precautions. With supplies, we are going to limit sharing supplies. So what we don't want is we don't want to get out a huge box of colored pencils and everybody sharing the same colored pencils. Okay. So unfortunately, in that respect, things might be limited. Hopefully, by the time we get to the clay unit, maybe there's a way that we can do clay. Maybe there's a way that we can do ceramics. Maybe there's a way we can find some sort of option to do other things too. But for now, at least the start of the school year, we are going to limit sharing supplies. So the only thing we are going to require, and it's on your school list, is a sketchbook. Hopefully it's at least 9 by 12 inches. If it's like 8 by 10, I would say that's fine. But you don't want to use something that's like 4x6 because that gets really small, and it's not really fair to have some students do things 4x6 and other students do things 9x12 because it's basically less work. So we want you to use a 9x12-inch sketchbook. Do not go out and get a new sketchbook if you have something very close to that. And if you're unsure about that, just let me know. Email me, send me a reminder, a message on Polaris. And then you're going to need a number 2 pencil. And then the other thing is your Chromebook. So everybody has a Chromebook. So we should be good there. The nice thing is you're not going to have any lockers this year. So you're going to be able to carry book bags. You're going to be able to show, as long as you're in person, you're going to be able to show up on command with all of these supplies every day. All right. So unless you forget them at home, which I don't think you will. Now, with supplies, we're going to talk about materials a little later on. I believe it's at the bottom. Yeah, materials. There are some other options. If you would like to go out and get some more supplies, you can. It's not required. Could potentially be recommended. So rule number 3, moving on. Come to class prepared with proper hygiene and facial covering. Now, proper hygiene. A lot of times people think hygiene. When they think hygiene, they think of like stinky or like clean, or not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about students should maintain cleanliness, all right, especially during everything that's going on. So what we ask is that you use hand sanitizer frequently, probably every class period. We ask that you try not to touch unnecessarily. So walking around the room, touching people's chairs and desks and utensils and Chromebooks and things like that. Just use proper hygiene. It's almost like just pretend that everybody has a cold, and you obviously don't want to get a cold. So yeah, just keep your distance and we'll get through it. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So just try to keep proper hygiene. You have to keep your facial covering on. All right, and we'll talk about that in a second. Keep facial covering on when you are within 6 feet of another person. All right, so the local county health department, the CDC, Jackson Local Schools, they have basically come out with safety regulations or health regulations for students in the classroom. So you probably have already heard about this. But one thing that's the most important is the face covering. All right, and I understand that there's a wide range of beliefs when it comes to these things, but unfortunately, as a district, we have to put safety first. We have to make your safety a priority. So really, no matter what the belief is, we have to just go with the safest route. Trust me, everybody has different feelings about this, but you have to have a face mask or a face covering of some sort. It should be something that's permanent. I'm not going to allow you to just hold your shirt over your face. It's not. We need to take it, a little bit more seriously. We need to be prepared. We need to be comfortable, and we also don't want to be distracted as well. So at least as much as possible. I know this is also different, so it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, but we'll get through it. So you have to have a mask on. If you are nowhere near anybody, so 6 feet, I might even make it a 10-foot rule just to be safe, then you may pull your mask down. All right. Now, if your parents tell you, I do not want your mask down, then that is 100% fine. Your parents are the boss, so you listen to them. If they say don't take it down, don't take it down. But based on our guidelines, if you are 6 feet away from everybody, you may pull your mask down. Obviously, there's very general hygiene practices, like if you cough, cover your mouth. If you sneeze, cover your mouth. I believe they say it's better to sneeze into your elbow than into your hands. Okay. So basic, simple health practices, and I think we're going to be totally fine. I personally would like you to stay at least 3 feet away. And I didn't put this in here, but I'm just going to say it. I would like you to stay 3 feet away at all times, if possible. All right. So always maintain 3 feet distance. If you're 3 feet away from somebody, 3 feet is definitely less than 6. So you need to have your face mask on. Okay, I think we're good there. I know the school district or the school in general is going to hammer that home anyway, so I'm going to move on. Treat others the way you would like to be treated, whether that's online or whether it's in person. Just be a nice person. You know, it's not hard to be nice. It's not. Being nice is not hard. So that's just, I always tell people that, you know, some people act like it's a huge task. Being nice is easy. Just be nice. You know, be nice. Treat others the way you would like to be treated. You wouldn't want people to be mean to you, so don't be mean to them. And we'll be good. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Do not interrupt Mr. Petter. Oh, there's a typo there. Do not interrupt Mr. Petter or another student while he or she is talking. Keep hands and feet to yourself, especially this year. Do not touch other students' artwork, especially this year. And do not touch or use classroom equipment, especially this year, without Mr. Petter's permission. Okay, so do not touch, do not touch, do not touch. Okay, you get it. A couple of other things with, we'll get to those later on the other side. I was going to talk a little bit more about some specific rules, but we'll get there. All right, consequences. First one, verbal warning. That's me saying, hey, knock it off. Second warning, that's a written warning. That is one that you will have to take home, get signed, returned, explaining exactly what you did wrong. Third is a lunch detention or a call home. 4 is an after-school detention. And then 5 is office referral. Grading policy. So just as always, things may look a little differently this year, but grading policy as traditionally structured, we have our product grades, which make 85%. That is going to be your projects, test quizzes. 15%, which is your process, that is going to be worksheets, sketchbooks, and participation. All right, so try to keep an eye on what grade is going to be applied to each assignment, because obviously your product grades, you're going to want to do a nice job. And your process grades, if you don't do your process grades, then you're not even going to be close to an A. So you want to make sure that you do the process so that it prepares you for the product, and that you do well enough overall. Okay, students are subject to lose 1 point per day that an assignment is turned in past the due date. That is officially back. So in the spring, this rule didn't necessarily apply because we were trying to be lenient and we didn't want people to get stressed out with deadlines. This year, now that we're used to it, now that we've had all summer to think about how this is going to work, you will lose 1 point every day it's due past the due date. So if you turn something in on Wednesday that was due on Monday, that is minus 2 points. Okay, so if you turn something in a week later, so if you turn something in Wednesday and it was due last Wednesday, that is actually minus 5 points. So it's not minus 7. I know there's 7 days in a week, excuse me, but that would be minus 5 because we do not count Saturday or Sunday. If you miss a day, so if you're actually sick and you have an excused absence, then you will be given that amount of days to make up for your missing work. So if you miss 2 days due to an illness, then you will have 2 days to make up the work penalty free. Okay. All right, let's go down here to materials, and then I'm going to end this video and start a new one talking about rules and safety, things like that. Materials. Students are required to have a sketchbook. Hopefully it's 9 by 12 or close. Number 2, pencil. You can use a mechanical pencil. I get it. I use mechanical pencil all the time. It's fine. And you should also have your Chromebook. All other materials will be shared in class if hygiene standards can be met. All right, so can I give you a piece of paper? Yes. Do I want that piece of paper back? No. Do I want you to share that piece of paper? No. but I can give you a piece of paper. And we'll use, trust me, we'll use plenty of hygiene practice and sanitary practices. Materials for enrichment. Students wishing to participate in enrichment activities will be expected to provide their own supplies. Contact Mr. Petter with other options obtaining supplies. So here's what this means. This means that if you are at home and you just love art and your family is unable to get the supplies, okay, now I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust mom, dad, grandparents, etc. I'm going to trust everybody that, they handle this the best way possible. But obviously, if this is difficult for families to get supplies, then as long as you come up and ask me, I will supply you with certain materials to accomplish those enrichment activities. Okay, so I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to just say, well, sorry, I guess you can't do it. No, I'm going to definitely allow you to do this. So enrichment. These could be your traditional projects. So painting, clay, watercolor, printmaking. So it can be things that typically we would need to share in class, but we don't want to share so much. So that's why it's enrichment, and that's why you should have your own set of materials so that we're not passing back and forth. Okay, so that we will kind of work through as the 12 weeks goes on. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, so hopefully everybody kind of understands how the syllabus goes, how the class is going to be run, and hopefully everybody's feeling pretty comfortable with what we got going. All right, so I'm going to end at that. Now that you've watched this video, I'd like you to hop on over to the rules and safety procedures, and we will go from there.